They say only two things in life are guaranteed: death and taxes. And whilst that might be true, certainly change needs to be added onto that list. Just think about your own life and how over the years you've had to wear many hats and play different roles and also experience life changing around you. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, or even meeting a partner, starting a family with them, and transitioning in various roles that you experience within your career. Now, I sure know all about it, but what's your experience been? And are there any commonalities that we can bring to the table? Well, that's why we're looking forward to your participation and your views that you'll also share here on the Liberty BlueTable Sessions conversation. Now, this is where we pull up our digital chairs, connect with various individuals virtually, and share some of our insight, experiences, and feedback as to how we've managed to change, and most importantly, remain fully present in the moments that life does present to us. So join us, because in this episode, we're certainly going to engage with women from various aspects of life who've adapted to change in their different roles, and also share some insight as to how COVID-19 and subsequent lockdown has really highlighted this in their lives. The very familiar face and voice to many South Africans, someone who is a seasoned broadcaster and also had to adapt and evolve to the ever-changing landscape that we see in our country. Karabo, Ntshweng, it's a great pleasure to welcome you and participate in conversation with you here at the Liberty BlueTable Sessions. Give us some insight firstly as to who Karabo really is, and also when last you truly felt that someone was in it with you.
Thank you so much for the awesome intro, Gugu. My name is Karabo Ntshweng. I'm a radio presenter currently on 5FM, 4 to 6 every single day, Monday to Friday. I am a part-time student as well, studying strategic brand communications. I am extremely passionate about women and young people and making a difference through the work that I do. And the last time I really felt like someone was in it with me has definitely been in the last couple of months. Being able to still meaningfully connect with my family and my loved ones digitally, even though we haven't been able to see each other in the physical form, that's been truly special.
It is truly special. It just shows you about the power of human connection and interaction, that it doesn't solely depend on touch and feel and physical connectivity. Someone else who's actually found the support of building up a platform and really allowing women and youth from all ages and all backgrounds to interact and share their thoughts is a social activist. She's an entrepreneur as well, and a well-respected speaker within her spaces. Amonge, Sinxoto, you join us as another participant in our conversation today, and we're looking forward to your contribution. But give us more insight as to who Amonge is and when last you truly felt that someone was in it with you.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. My name is Amonge Sinxoto. I'm 19 years old. I'm a student doing my second year at Wits University, a Bachelor of Arts in International Relations and Politics. But I'm also a storyteller. I'm a social entrepreneur and I'm an activist. I am also the founder of a nonprofit company called Blackboard Africa that is all about making sure that young people have access to leadership training and mentorship. And I think I can say the last time I felt that someone was truly in it with me was about 2.5 months ago, when I was terrified at the prospects of starting online learning, and my friend was just super supportive and super calming. So that was really amazing.
Friendship and support is always quite critical and key. And as you say, you've transitioned into the role of online learning, which really brings about a change that has now become a new reality for many of us, not only in South Africa, but really across the globe. Something else that is quite pertinent and prevalent across the globe has to be life changes, whether through marriages, through giving birth. And it's no coincidence that the 3-4 of us participating in this conversation are all women, because we certainly play a part in experiencing these particular changes within our lives. But they also happen to have a very significant impact financially on our lives. Someone who's very familiar with these changes and has helped bring about supportive solutions to women in terms of how to adapt to these various changing roles and really stepping up to the plate in terms of managing their finances more meticulously, has to be Dr. Dominique Stott, a representative of Liberty, who will share some insight with us as well during the duration of this episode. Dr. Stott, we look forward to your contribution here today, but give us a little bit more insight into who Dominique is, never mind Dr. Stott, and just when last you truly felt that someone was really in it with you.
Thank you, Gugu. I've been working at Liberty for 30 years, and when I was taken on in life insurance, I was the first woman full-time medical officer to be appointed. And joining the life insurance industry way back then was the best thing I could have done. And if I led a way to anybody having chosen this career path, I'm so happy they did. The last time anybody was in it with me was when I had very difficult work circumstances at a particular employer. I needed to make a change. It took a lot of courage, and I would never have had actually the courage to do it on my own, but my family were in it with me.
Life-changing stuff. I think what's truly been highlighted so far in the conversation is that personal connections, human connections, and human support is critical to the roles that we all play in our lives. And it's also quite critical to how we evolve and adapt to the ongoing changes that take place in life. Well, as highlighted and as you've witnessed over the various conversations we've hosted so far in the Liberty BlueTable sessions, we really are focusing on the many roles that we play. And one thing that's certainly been brought to the fore is how COVID-19 has emphasized how we need to prepare and expect for the unexpected. But how do you do that when nobody saw COVID-19 coming and we're all sitting here broadcasting from home? You're probably watching this from home as well, and you're trying to adapt and navigate this uncertain landscape in the second half of 2020, where we all feel so overwhelmed by what we've just gone through in the first half of the year. And Karabo, I'd like to throw this at you. You have been fortunate enough to actually adapt and evolve quite quickly to this changing landscape. But give us an understanding as to how COVID-19, how the lockdown, how just 2020 has really changed your view in life, and how you've also had to adapt in your response to the various roles that you serve.
Google, 2020 has literally been the craziest year of my life, both good and bad, and I embrace it all. I mean, I'm going to kick off in January. That's where the drama all started. I had quite a big health scare this year. You know, I've never been in hospital before or had any crazy medical conditions or anything like that. But here am I in January, beginning of the year, Karabo lands up in hospital and doctors are not sure what's wrong. And I get diagnosed with a rare lung disease. And now I'm watching the news. I'm like, oh, this is happening in China. It better not come here because I just got diagnosed with something. I don't need anything else right now. So that was extremely crazy. So here's a lifestyle change. Here's now really understanding, first of all, how medical aid works, because that also just shook me. You know how you always feel like, oh, okay, no, I'm sorted, I'll be fine. But then you now are starting to hear all these different things you didn't know about before, because now you're in hospital for quite a while and there's a whole lot of things you need to pay. And there's a lifestyle change in the midst of it all. So got through that. As I'm getting used to that, COVID-19 hit South Africa. We have a lockdown. It's, you know, and now it's me trying to keep myself safe. Because I'm also still, you know, I've just been diagnosed with another condition and here's something else that I need to run away from or protect myself from. So it's that, and then it's the lockdown and people losing jobs. And in the midst of all of that, though, I did find a really amazing opportunity, which is to start a new job. And I felt like that was such a blessing too, because then it made me realize that in the midst of chaos, magic can actually happen. So it's been such a dramatic start to the year, but here's something so amazing that has happened where I've been able to start something new. So it really has been insane. And you're right, it has been a lot of changes for me, probably more changes this year in my life than any other time in my life.
It's a real challenging one, and one that I can certainly relate to as well, working for organizations where there have been retrenchments and job losses. But as you say, one definitely needs to focus on the magic that can happen in the middle of the chaos. Amonge, I'm tempted to come to you next, and I'd like to get your thoughts in terms of how COVID-19 and the lockdown has really impacted you, your life, and the different roles that you play as a student, sister, and friend.
For sure. I mean, So COVID-19 was a very weird one for me, like good and bad, like Karabo said. And I think it was really hard for me to start embracing all of them, because I was like, I'll take this, but I don't want that really. And it was really, really hard. So, I mean, in my capacity as a student, I am a very interactive learner. I learn based asking questions, engaging with the lecturer, and really getting insights from people and from my peers. And now online learning and all of that was cut out. I got PowerPoint presentations and voice notes. That's what I had to work with. So, I mean, that was extremely unsettling for me. And I really had to lean into my support structures to really carry me through that, because, you know, obviously academics and my education is something that is a massive priority. And then in my capacity as, you know, as a sister, I have 1,000,001 siblings. I'm kidding, no. But I have like 4 different siblings. And I moved back home. So that was actually really, really great. I got to spend so much more time with them. We started exercising and baking, and I mean, just doing all these things that we've really been wanting to do, but there's just never been time, or there's never space to do those sort of things. And then in my capacity as a founder of a non-profit, it absolutely shook me in my boots, just because our entire platform is based on running events and workshops and programs, and COVID hit and they said, no, none of that. Which was like, what do you mean? And I mean, we just got this amazing sponsor, SAP, and we were like, how now when everything seems to be aligning, then this is what happens. It was extremely, extremely frustrating. And I think we just sat for like a couple of weeks thinking, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Thankfully, our sponsor was super, super supportive, and they're super understanding of the circumstances, and they know that our capacity as a nonprofit. But we ended up digitizing our programs, which is amazing, because now, you know, it also gets a much wider reach. We can start to reach, you know, other parts of the country and other parts of the continent, which is really what we wanted to get Blackboard Africa to do in the first place. So, I mean, good and bad, it's all really muddled up in there, but COVID has really shifted my mindset, I think.
Amazing feedback that the both of you have given us. And Dr. Stott, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Not only how COVID-19 has also impacted your life and your livelihood, but also what you've witnessed. You sit in the fortunate position of actually seeing how people respond in terms of their finances or lack of financial planning, in terms of how they adapt to change and have to do so very quickly within a short period of time. What are your thoughts, Dr. Stott?
You know, on so many levels, like so many other people, COVID has impacted my life considerably. I've been locked down just like everybody else. But there's a good side. I've been with my family and had to spend considerable amounts of time with them, which is something you can never take for granted. And I'm very thankful for it. Obviously, the bad side is the sense of anxiety and the worry about people close to you that comes because of this pandemic. The other good side about this pandemic has been the generosity that I've seen from family members of my own, but people in general have just seemed to be so much more giving and so much kinder, which one wouldn't necessarily have seen. So I'm happy for that, because you want to see that in people. You want people to be given the opportunity to display that behavior.
On that, Dr. Stott, and I'd like to stay with you just to engage you further in terms of planning for loss and dealing with anxiety. For many of us, planning for our death is not a concept that we'd like to absorb, but it really takes a great sense of maturity to plan for it adequately, especially even more so when you're female. But also, how have you found that individuals try to manage the sense of anxiety that they have with the adequate financial planning that they need to implement in their lives? As Karabo and Amonge have both mentioned, you're worried about job losses, you're worried about your health, you're worried about the livelihoods of your loved ones. it can all be a lot to digest. But how have you seen individuals trying to just recenter themselves and taking a very mature approach to the adequate financial planning they need to implement?
The impact on, in particular, women of this COVID epidemic has been so significant. We can see it because obviously a lot of the beneficiaries of the policies that we pay out are women. And obviously we have a lot of women who have taken policies out in their own right, but not enough. Women haven't taken enough responsibility in the past for their own financial affairs. And now with COVID, it's coming to the foreground where you can see that women are on the back foot, in particular with regards to the taking care of the family when you're sick type of insurance, the critical illness and the disability types of insurance. Because women are, certainly in South Africa, many households are run single-handedly by single parents, mostly women. And you wish that those women had taken out insurance so that they would have been covered during these difficult periods, in particular now coming to light in the COVID epidemic.
You're quite right on seeking the right advice, and it's a difficult one for many to manage, but it does take a real great sense of maturity. And Karabo, I'd like to come back to you here to get further insight in terms of how not only have you managed this change and adapted to it, but as you highlighted, you have a lot of anxiety about your healthcare and prioritizing that, and you've taken a very bold decision to actually slow down. Now, in a world where we are so used to keeping busy, securing the bag, getting those coins, that's a very unusual or unpopular decision to actually take. But what is the evaluation process that you had to go through, sit down with, in order to actually take such a bold step to do what will be fully deserving and appropriate for you?
Gugu, I think, lockdown helped with making that decision even clearer for me. When you feel like this is something I need to do, and then we're locked down in our houses and now you're forced to actually do it. I've been working since I was 10 years old. I'm tired. And I think it doesn't even take working since you're 10 years old. A lot of people feel that way. You're working and you're studying and you've got other charity projects that you're doing. And then you've got a social life and you've got family and you've got all of this. I mean, I'm not even a mom yet and I feel so overwhelmed. I can't even imagine what it's like, for parents and all of that. So I really made a decision this year that, first of all, I do not have to be defined by my work. I think we spend so much time working and trying to make all this money. Okay, so what's the point of making all this money if you're not going to enjoy it? You know what I mean? It's like, really? And is that even, is that the measure of success? Just the money that I make? What about my well-being? So I made the decision this year that I really needed to do work that is going to afford me more time to spend with myself, more time to be mindful. We were talking about that just now. Reading books that I like. What's the point of having all these books right here on this bookshelf if I don't have time to read them? Doing more things that I love. Spending more meaningful time with my family. I was always the person that needs to quickly hurry up and leave because there's a show I need to go to, or I need to study, or I need to do this. And I think I just got to a point that this is not life. I'm about to wrap up my 20s now. I'm turning 29 this year, and heading into my 30s, I think I definitely want to live a life that is fuller, that is more meaningful, and I want to enjoy it. Because all this busyness just really makes you even more anxious, to be quite honest. And I really think now the measure of my success will be more about how well am I doing mentally? How well do I feel physically? And I think everything else will come in abundance. The work that I love, I'll be able to attract it. The money that I want, I'll be able to attract it and use it well and grow it. But it really all starts in the mind and my well-being. And that's really the reason why I decided it's time to slow down.
Yeah. very amazing point of view that you've shared with us there. And as you mentioned, you're constantly chasing, but you've decided to take a breather on that particular point. And Amonge, I understand that things have been slightly different for you. And I would like to get your perspective on this, because you also work in a very interesting space where you interact with a lot of young people. And social media has really risen to the fore as both a blessing and a curse, right? Where you are engaging with people, they're telling you how busy they are. Sometimes people are showing you how busy they are in terms of their social media posts. But how do you use the platforms that you operate on to bring about a different voice? That it's not really about competition, but rather evolving, adapting, and changing adequately at your own pace. And much of it also making sure that individuals are fully present in the various stages of life that they approach. What's your experience been?
For sure. I think this is something that I can really, really speak on. I mean, I did a TEDx on this specific topic, using social media and using it to turn it into social impact. I mean, the first thing you need to understand about social media is that you don't owe anyone a personal camera into your life. So, I mean, your image, your whole thing is for you to curate. I don't have to tell you about every single other part of my life. It is up for me to curate. So that's the first thing. And then second of all, I think it's just in a time and a space that we're in right now, there's so many social issues. There's so many environmental issues. There's just problems on problems on problems. And I think it's irresponsible for us to not, in some capacity, take on some sort of alleviating some sort of problem. And I don't mean you have to start an NGO. I mean, I'm not happy with the way that my boss addresses me, because it's demeaning to women and to this and to that, and I'm going to say something about it. In that small capacity, take on that issue in whatever environment that you can.
And Dr. Stott, I'd like to draw on the lessons that you might have learned as we start with our concluding remarks here, as to what you have witnessed in terms of women playing a more critical role in terms of planning for emergencies and when life throws you a curveball. One thing that all three speakers have highlighted here today is that they've had to adapt in their studies, they've had to adapt in their health precautions, and even their interactions with family and loved ones. But one thing people are, especially women, are very shy to discuss is money. So what have you learned and what have you experienced as a leader and a woman who spearheaded change within your organization and within your career about the conversations that we need to start having as women about how we adequately plan for when life hits us with the unexpected?
What this pandemic has shown along the way is that women can lead the way. They've shown us that they can be courageous and they can stand up to the task, and we can be proud of those women. But now is the time for courageous conversations to happen around policies, my own insurance policy, my own bank account, my own investments. Now is the time for the new normal. And women who are earning their own income should perhaps be thinking, maybe my income should be going towards things that I believe in. I believe in having my own life insurance policies. I believe in having my own investments. And now's the time to do it, because this epidemic, this pandemic, could be viewed in a good light as a catalyst to have those conversations finally, so that should something similar happen again in the future, and it most probably will, this is not going to be the last pandemic we ever see, they are well prepared, their families are well prepared financially to face the financial adverse circumstances that we have seen coming out now.
A valid point that you raised there. Amonge, I'd like to get your perspective on this one. You're still young, you're 19, you're probably at an age where all of us wish we could go back to, because then we'd get the retirement planning right, then we'd start saving properly, we wouldn't be wasting money on cars. But what lessons have you learned that you might be implementing in your life in terms of adequate financial planning to make sure that next time there's a curveball thrown your way, you're fully prepared?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, so I'm not like in a position where I'm making a ton of money, but in the different spaces that I'm taking on speaking a lot more seriously in a greater capacity. So I am starting to, generate some sort of income, and I'm fortunate enough to have parents who, don't need so much support from me. So I literally, the money that I make is for me, and I can put it away and I can save it. And I mean, I'm just practicing little things. I'm not that great at it yet, but it's a work in progress as everything else. Yeah. And I think just in general to everybody, I think especially young people, your youth is amazing, and I think we only tend to appreciate it when it's gone. At this point, I mean, there are different people in different circumstances, but when you're a young person, you don't have as much responsibility and you don't have as much commitment. So I think in this time, this is the time to really take a leap into the different opportunities that you would be a little bit hesitant to take on in future. Don't get somewhere to realize that, oh no, I should have done this and I should have done that. Do it now. Take advantage of those opportunities now while you're young.
Exactly. Living a full life. And you're quite right in terms of navigating the landscape. As Dr. Stott mentioned, there's always some advice that's available. So just make sure you solicit the correct advice. And a word of advice from me, stay home for as long as possible. Rent-free, levy-free, and save up what money that you can. Karabo, let's come to you as we wrap up. And of course, you mentioned you've been working since the age of 10. So girl, sounds like you're ready to retire already. But you clearly put in the necessary plans to plan for any life curveballs.
Now, as I said, I'm wrapping up my 20s. I've realized that it's important to forgive myself for all the many mistakes that I've made, because there's no turning back. We are here now. So how do you fix it? How do I now get into this next stage in my life better, and that's what I've managed to do. Now I've managed to get proper financial advice. Now I've managed to start paying off things that I need to pay off and rectify past financial mistakes. I've learned to say no, because I think women also struggle to say no when it comes to money. You want to help the entire world. I've realized that I can't. I cannot help myself and the rest of my family if I'm not making good financial decisions. And that means saying no. So learning to say no, fixing past financial mistakes, and really planning for the future better, and realizing that planning isn't just saving. Planning is being informed, and that's basically how I'm navigating my finances right now. I think it's a learning process all the time, but I think forgiving yourself is so important, and asking for help when you need it, just like Dr. Stott said, like, we don't have to have everything figured out. We're not superheroes. As much as we love, women are champions, women are, we're great, and we're here to save the world and all of that, but no, sometimes we don't have to be the superhero. Sometimes I'm not going to fix your financial mess and be the fixer. Absolutely not, because I have a future to plan for and to prepare for, and that's the space that I'm in. So forgive yourself if you've made some money mistakes. It's a lot of us.
Yeah. Indeed, we are not alone, and that's why we are in it with you. So I'm already here clicking away, applauding away in terms of the feedback that we've heard from our speakers. Thank you so much, ladies, for the feedback that you provided today in this edition of the Liberty BlueTable sessions. And I think one thing that we've certainly discussed is to navigate the emotional roller coaster that comes with uncertainty. Change is going to happen, but of course the best way to approach it is with adequate planning, maybe a little bit more grit and being bold about the decisions and the things that it is that you want to participate in, and most importantly, having the right level of accountability to navigate those changes as they come about. Life will happen, it's inevitable, but adapt, be agile, be nimble, and most importantly, be appreciative and fully present in the spaces that you occupy. I'd like to thank many of my guests who've joined us here today for a phenomenal conversation in sharing some of their nuggets from a professional and personal point of view. Karabo Ntshweng, who's joined us as a broadcaster, not forgetting Amonge, who's also joined us as an entrepreneur as well as social activist, and not forgetting Dr. Stott, who's joined us as a representative from Liberty, who's also charged her way in terms of changing individuals' lives, especially the lives of women, by allowing them to be more financially proactive, independent, and informed. From myself and the team, we look forward to having you again for our next edition of Liberty BlueTable Sessions.